to another story time with Miss Leah. I'm so excited to be here. I've got a new story. Yesterday we finished up The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, and today we're going to pull out a Beatrix Potter story, and it is called The Tale of Timmy Tiptoes. And we'll start that right around 3 o'clock. So if you're joining us a little bit early, we like to give people a few minutes to join in. So I have my little pre-show going on. And the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is that I was on my walk today and I noticed that the magnolia trees outside are starting to bloom. So I wonder if you guys have a magnolia tree near you, if maybe you could take a picture if you get to go out on a walk and you can send it to me or put it in the comments, and we will see who can find the blooms on the magnolia tree. That will be super fun to do together as we're all cooped up most of the time. And I have a couple of questions from one of our viewers, Harper. She wanted to know if I like applesauce packets. Well, Harper, I don't eat very many things out of packets, but I do like applesauce, especially homemade applesauce with big chunky apples in it and cinnamon, and I like to eat it warm. That's my favorite. And she also wanted to know if I wear boots when I go out walking and find all my nature things. And I do. I have the best boots for winter, and they keep my feet cozy warm, and they're one of my favorite things. I did wear them to go puddle jumping the other day, and they didn't work for that because I jumped so high and so hard that the water went right inside of my boots and got my socks all wet. So maybe I need to get some rain galoshes next. What do you think, Harper? So let's see. I do have another twig to show you guys today. And this one, well, I actually brought two, but they're from the same type of tree. So I have these two twigs. Now these are in bloom. Okay, does anyone know what they are? Can you guess? These are from a maple tree. And these are the flowers of the maple tree. But they're not like the flowers that grow in your garden. They don't have any petals. They are the flowers, and they come on the maple trees every spring. They're one of the very first trees, and the flowers come before the leaves ever do. And so you might see, if you're out and about, you might start to see some bees, and they will come and start to pollinate the flowers. And then you'll see that the maple trees will kind of make a big mess, actually, because these flowers will fall off as the leaves start to push their way out. And they also sometimes will leave a yellow dusting on the ground. And that yellow dust is the pollen. And that's what the bees are after. And the butterflies, they come after the pollen. So keep an eye out for those because these don't last super long. In fact, the maple tree in my yard, most of these are already gone. I had to get these from another maple tree. So these are from a red maple tree. So if you compare the two, you see the red one is really red, but the sugar maple is kind of a light green with some red tips on it. So these look different, and you could, one of the ways you can tell different types of trees is if you, even in the winter, if you look at a twig and you see like the little leaf scar and the shape of the buds, you can start to identify what kind of trees are which. So you don't have to wait till fall when all the trees are in color to find out what the tree is. Although these maple trees in the fall, they're the ones that a lot of times they're really dark red or they're really bright orange. They are really pretty trees. So if you get a chance and you find a maple tree, that's another thing. You can send me a picture of the maple tree flowers if you find them around your house. Okay, I think we're probably, oh, I have a poem. I had to get it online today. So this poem is called Spring Song, and it is by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Do any of you know who that is? You might not be familiar, but this was one of my favorite stories when I was growing up. She wrote Anne of Green Gables, and you can get some really old videos that are really long, but they're the best. Anne of Green Gables. And then there's also some newer ones that PBS made. So if you get a chance to watch those while you're home, Anne of Green Gables is a really good story. But this is a poem by her called Spring Song. Hark, I hear a robin calling. List, the wind is from the south, and the orchard bloom is falling, sweet as kisses on the mouth. In the dreamy vale of beeches, fair and faint is woven mist, and the river's orient reaches are the palest amethyst. Every limpid brook is singing of the lure of April days. Every piney glen is ringing with the maddest roundelays. Come and let us seek together springtime lore of daffodils, giving to the golden weather greeting on the sun-warm hills. Remember we talked about crocuses and daffodils the other day? I think I saw a daffodil in bloom today. I don't think it was a crocus. I think it really was a daffodil. So we are moving right along in our signs of spring. So if you guys see any other signs of spring that maybe you'd like me to talk about, share them with me, and maybe if I can find a sample or something that I can show on the video or a picture, then I'll talk about those signs of spring too. We can enjoy spring together even though we can't be together. Okay, are you guys ready for the story? The Tale of Timmy Tiptoes by Beatrix Potter. It's about a squirrel. I don't know if you can see that or not. Sometimes the glare of the light keeps the picture from showing up. Here we go. Here's the first picture. Once upon a time, there was a little, fat, comfortable gray squirrel called Timmy Tiptoes. He had a nest thatched with leaves in the top of a tall tree, and he had a little squirrel wife called Goody. There's Goody. You see her? Timmy Tiptoes sat out enjoying the breeze. He whisked his tail and chuckled. Little wife Goody, the nuts are ripe. We must lay up a store for winter and spring. Goody Tiptoes was busy pushing moss under the thatch. The nest is so snug we shall be sound asleep all winter. Then we shall wake up all the thinner when there is nothing to eat in springtime, replied prudent Timothy. When Timmy and Goody Tiptoes came to the nut thicket and found other squirrels were there already, Timmy took off his jacket and hung it on a twig. They worked away quietly by themselves. Every day they made several journeys and picked quantities of nuts. They carried them away in bags and stored them in several hollow stumps near the tree where they had built their nest. When those stumps were full, they began to empty the bags into a hole high up in the tree. They had belonged to a woodpecker. The nuts rattled down, down, down inside. How shall you ever get them out again? It is like a money box, said Goody. I shall be much thinner before springtime, my love, said Timmy Tiptoes, peeping into the hole. They did collect quantities because they did not lose them. Squirrels who bury their nuts in the ground lose more than half because they cannot remember where they placed them. The most forgetful squirrel in the wood was called Silvertail. He began to dig, and he could not remember, and then he dug again and found some nuts that did not belong to him. And there was a fight, and other squirrels began to dig, and the whole wood was in commotion. Unfortunately, just at this time, a flock of little birds flew by from bush to bush, searching for green caterpillars and spiders. There were several sorts of little birds twittering different songs. The first one sang, "Who's been digging up my nuts? Who's been digging up my nuts?" And another sang, "Little bit of bread and no cheese, little bit of bread and no cheese." The squirrels followed and listened. The first little bird flew into the bush where Timmy and Goody Tiptoes were quietly tying up their bags, and it sang, "Who's been digging up my nuts? Who's been digging up my nuts?" Timmy Tiptoes went on with his work without replying. Indeed, the little bird did not expect an answer. It was only singing its natural song, and it meant nothing at all. But when the other squirrels heard that song, they rushed upon Timmy Tiptoes and cuffed and scratched him and upset his bag of nuts. The innocent little bird, which had caused all the mischief, flew away in fright. Timmy rolled over and over and then turned tail and fled toward his nest, followed by a crowd of squirrels shouting, "Who's been digging up my nuts?" And running away? They caught him and dragged him up the very same tree where there was a little round hole, and they pushed him in. The hole was much too small for Timmy Tiptoes' figure. They squeezed him dreadfully. It was a wonder they did not break his ribs. "We will leave him there until he confesses," said Silvertail Squirrel, and he shouted into the hole, "Who's been digging up my nuts?" Timmy Tiptoes made no reply. He had tumbled down inside the tree upon half a peck of nuts belonging to himself, and he lay quite stunned and still. Goody Tiptoes picked up the nut bags and went home. She made a cup of tea for Timmy, but he didn't come, and he didn't come. Goody Tiptoes passed a lonely and unhappy night. The next morning she ventured back to the nut bushes to look for him, but the other unkind squirrels drove her away, and she wandered all over the wood calling, "Timmy Tiptoes! Timmy Tiptoes! Oh, where is Timmy Tiptoes?" In the meantime, Timmy Tiptoes came to his senses. He found himself tucked up in a little moss bed, very much in the dark, and feeling sore. It seemed to be underground, so Timmy coughed and groaned because his ribs hurt him. There was a chirpy noise, and a small striped chipmunk appeared with a nightlight and hoped he felt better. It was the most kind to Timmy Tiptoes. It lent him his nightcap, and the house was full of provisions. The chipmunk explained that it had rained nuts through the top of the tree. "Besides, I found a few buried." It laughed and chuckled when it heard Timmy's story. While Timmy was confined to bed, it enticed him to eat quantities. "But how shall I ever get out through that hole unless I thin myself? My wife will be anxious." "Just another nut or 2 nuts. Let me crack them for you," said the chipmunk. And Timmy Tiptoes grew fatter and fatter. Now, Goody Tiptoes had set to work again by herself. She did not put any more nuts into the woodpecker's hole because she had always doubted how they would ever be got out again. She hid them under a tree root, and they rattled down, down, down. Once, when Goody emptied an extra big bagful, there was a decided squeak. And next time, Goody brought another bagful, and a little striped chipmunk scrambled out in a hurry. It is getting perfectly full up downstairs. The sitting room is full, and they are rolling around the passage. And my husband, Chippy Hackey, has run away and left me. What is the explanation for these showers of nuts? I am sure I beg your pardon. I didn't know that anybody lived here, said Mrs. Goody Tiptoes. But where is Chippy Hackey? My husband, Timmy Tiptoes, has run away too. I know where Chippy is. A little bird told me, said Mrs. Chippy Hackey. She led the way to the woodpecker's tree, and they listened at the hole. Down below there was a noise of nutcrackers, and a fat squirrel voice and a thin squirrel voice were singing together. My little old man and I fell out. How shall we bring this matter about? Bring it about as well as you can, and get you gone, you little old man. You could squeeze in through that little round hole, said Goody Tiptoes. Yes, I could, said the chipmunk, but my husband, Chimmy Hackey, bites. Down below there was a noise of cackling nuts and nibbling, and then the fat squirrel voice and the thin squirrel voice sang, for the diddle-um day, day diddle-dum dee, day diddle-dum day.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Then Goody peeped in at the hole and called down, Timmy Tiptoes! Oh, fie, Timmy Tiptoes! And Timmy replied, Is that you, Goody Tiptoes? Why, certainly. He came up and kissed Goody through the hole, but he was so fat that he could not get out. Chippy Hackey was not too fat, but he did not want to come, so he stayed down below and chuckled. And so it went on for a fortnight, till a big wind blew off the top of the tree and opened up the hole and let in the rain. Then Timmy Tiptoes came out and went home with an umbrella. But Chippy Hackey continued to chomp and camp out for another week, even though it was uncomfortable. At last, a large bear came walking through the wood. Perhaps he also was looking for nuts. He seemed to be sniffing around. Chippy Hackey then went home in a hurry. And when Chippy Hackey got home, he found he had caught a cold in his head, and he was more uncomfortable still. And now Timmy and Goody Tiptoes keep their nut store fastened up with a little padlock. And whenever that little bird sees the chipmunks, he sings, Who's been digging up my nuts? Who's been digging up my nuts? But nobody ever answers. The end. So I want to tell you guys about the squirrels in my yard. We have an oak tree, and when there are acorns on the oak tree, those squirrels are so busy. And if you are sitting outside on our deck, sometimes they are throwing so many nuts that it sounds like it's raining. And sometimes, if you are there too long, you might get an acorn right on the noggin or somewhere else. So you have to kind of watch out for those squirrels, but they are fun to watch because they are always so busy. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful night. And I will have a special story for you on Sunday morning. I'll tell a Bible story on Sunday morning. So please be sure to watch for the video. I don't know if we'll do it live. We'll put it on so you can watch it when you can. Okay? I'm so looking forward to hearing from you. If you have any comments or anything you want to ask me, please let me know, and I will try to answer them. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.